Yeah, that was a good time. Oh, my goodness. What the heck was that? Oh. Welcome to the Krueger Show, I think. Oh, my gosh, that was ugly. Brutal loss. Niners lose in Houston. Get their doors blown off. Offensive line, what would you say you do here? Unbelievable. More guys hurt. Offensive line getting trounced. Defense making a bunch of pedestrian weapons look just awesome. Amazingly bad performance from the 49ers. Welcome to the Krueger Show. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. We'll talk more about our sponsors in a bit. Whoa. Guys, that was freaking ugly. Mac Jones against C.J. Stroud. Niners on the road. The spread went from 1.5. Texans by 1.5 to Texans by 2.5 to Texans by 3.5 today. That right there should have been, an indicator. There's somebody on this stream that told me just a second ago that they got down on Texans right before kickoff. That only infuriates me even more. Can't tell you who that is, Kev. I'll keep that a secret, Kev. But what an absolute train wreck that was. Absolute train wreck. I mean, the stats do tell the story. I mean, they just got their butts kicked. Xavier Hutchinson, Jalen Noel, Woody Marks, Braxton Berrios, Jaden Higgins, Dalton Schultz, some guy named Jared Wayne. Jared Wayne? I didn't even know there was such a thing. And they lose to the Texans 26-15. Niners offense gets beat bad by Houston's defense. That's not that surprising. It's the Niners defense against this Houston offense that absolutely got dominated on Monday night by the Seattle Seahawks. And today, no pass rush, soft coverage, just playing soft zone. It's like, was the game plan? Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play real soft and let Stroud, who's not really in a very good rhythm, let's get him into a rhythm, guys. Let's see if we can get him into a rhythm. Well, that worked. He totally dominated the first half of this game. He completed almost every pass. Soft coverage, poor tackling. Woody Marks went for 5-6 a carry. This was a bad offensive performance, but I expected kind of a bad offensive performance. But I didn't expect the Texans to roll through the Niners defense like a hot knife through butter. I mean, my goodness, we're talking about, just looking at the drives alone, a 16-play drive, followed by a 9-play drive, followed by a 10-play drive, followed by, another long drive. Just like the only thing that stopped the Texans was the half. If it wasn't, Lenore got the pick right before the half. They come out in the third quarter, Niners go 3-and-out, and they lose the momentum right away. McKivit's beaten, I thought, by Will Anderson on that third down. The Niners lost the momentum. What did Houston do? They got it back. They went on a 12-play, 92-yard drive from their own 6 all the way down the field to go up, 23-7 at that point. That was pretty much ball game. Unbelievably bad performance from the 49ers on the defensive side. They got dominated on the offensive side. Just a collective dud. Man, that was a dud. And they don't look, you got an example right there, if you're Robert Saleh, what this thing's going to look like if you can't put any pressure on the quarterback. No sacks today against C.J. Stroud. No sacks. Worse than no sacks, only 2 hits all day. One by Alfred Collins, the other by Sam Aquinu. All day, 2 hits on the quarterback. So Niners, I mean, they just couldn't even get a first down. I mean, the halftime stats were comical. I'll throw it around the room. I don't know where to go on this one other than I did expect the Niners offense to struggle, but I expected the 49er defense to step up and challenge this really bad Houston line, this really bad, out of rhythm weaponry with no Nico Collins, no Christian Kirk, all rookies. And instead, they play soft zone. They get no pressure. They let Stroud get into an unbelievable rhythm. And they just got beat by a thoroughly mediocre football team on the offensive side. I mean, that was an embarrassment for the 49er defense for sure. I mean, the offense was equally bad, but I mean, this Houston Texan defense is legit, but this Houston Texan offense is not legit. And they put up 26 today and beat the 49ers by 11. You guys, make sense of it.
Well, I've been thinking Kyle's been coaching really well this year. He's done a really good job, but someone might want to tell him in the fourth quarter, this isn't baseball. I know the Vitello just got hired. I'm wondering if Kyle tried to get that job because there is a clock in football, Kyle, with 9 minutes to go and the defense, you can't get the defense off the field. You might want to start the hurry up a little earlier than with 3 or 4 minutes to go in the game. You needed 2 scores, and he's sitting there lollygagging around with 9 minutes to go, huddling up. Go for the hurry-up offense because you know what? When you hurry up, you shave minutes off the clock. You know what they could have done at the end of the game? They had the ball on the 31-yard line. There was 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. I would have clocked it and brought Eddie Pinero in to bring it within 8. You would have the 2-minute warning plus 2 timeouts. You could have got the ball back if you stopped them with 1:50 to drive down the field and score a touchdown. But clock management, I don't know what Kyle does in the fourth quarter. Sometimes I just think, and if he would have hurried up earlier, maybe you would have had 3 minutes left instead of 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. Clock management matters when you're down 2 scores. You can't just take your time when your defense can't get off the field. You need to score quickly.
I think beyond just clock management, this game starts and ends with the defensive line. The Houston defensive line just wreaked havoc against Mac Jones. You didn't have plays to make, and Will Anderson might have single-handedly just killed the Niners offense. I mean, he was all over the place. The Niners couldn't do shit against him. And this is the same respect. The Niners defensive line couldn't do jack today. Nothing. Absolutely nothing today. CJ Stroud didn't have seconds in the pockets. He had years. And if your secondary isn't that good, like your secondary is good, but it's not going to hold in the pocket for 10 seconds. And even when they brought pressure, I thought Stroud, to his credit, did a really good job of evading the pressure, running. I mean, they made Stroud look like a mobile quarterback today. He's not a mobile quarterback. He looked terrible on Monday Night Football against the Seahawks. And today he just looked like a great player. I mean, there was Stout was coming off the edge. He would throw right behind him, first down. I mean, the long drives killed the 49ers today.
Killed them.
I think before the
Couldn't
last
stop
drive
the run.
Before the last drive of the first half, the Niners had 10 total plays. 10 total plays. And I think they said the stat coming out of the half, the Niners had, or the Texans held the ball for 24 minutes, which is the most amount of time held by one team in the first half since like 2016. Like that's what was happening to the Niners offensively and defensively. It has to be the defensive line. They got to find a better way to get pressure, and they can't right now.
Rye, good to see you, by the way. What'd you think?
I'll start with some of the good. There is just something about Mac Jones back there just slinging the ball. It's really odd because obviously I think, we all came into the season thinking like, this is kind of they're still in kind of like a Super Bowl or bust mode, or at least NFC Championship game. But like, I don't know. Like, watching the Niners right now, it just like feels like you're watching like an underdog story. Like they just don't have the guys anywhere. Like they just don't have talent on this team. They really don't. I mean, they have McCaffrey, Trent Williams. Where else is the talent? I mean, Kittle's back. That's great. There's no guys. Like it used to be, when you talk about the Niners, it's like they're just like they always led the league in guys. Like you could just be naming off just so many dudes on this team. They just don't have them. Even more injuries. I thought Mac played pretty great, all things considered. I mean, he was trailing the entire time. Offensive line wasn't great. I mean, he was firing deep shots, hitting people in the hands. I mean, that one he put on Jennings, I mean, ultimately they did get the touchdown. Jennings kind of made up for it. But, I mean, that kind of fired me up. We see Watkins gets to come in the game. It's like, where's Watkins? Where's Watkins? All right, Watkins comes in the game. Mac throws just an absolute dime to him, just brick right off the hands. Just another wasted draft pick, it looks like. And, this defensive line that they spent all their resources, you can't stop Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, who's basically a nickelback. Like they're just running, they're just gashing them through the middle. I thought that was the one thing they'd be able to do is maybe stop the run. CJ Stroud, I mean, let it be known, the guy's he's actually not a good football player. He was a good football player his first year. He's been terrible the last couple of years, absolutely terrible. And whenever Dixon has been out, basically, he's been trash. He didn't do too much, but like those first couple drives, it was just like here's a 4-yard rush. All right, then just some little dink and dunk. They just paper cut their way down the field. And the Niners defense, like the only way they're going to be able to be good this year is basically if they play less defense. They have to be so fresh. The Niners have to be controlling possession. So this game just felt like it was over when the Texans basically possessed it the entire first half. Once they got up 13-0, it was like, all right, it's curtains. The Texans guys all just were pinning their ears back, just salivating to add to the sack total. The Niners are just another team. They're a good. They're still kind of a good team, but they're it's like best case scenario, go 5-4 down the stretch, maybe win a game in the playoffs. I don't want to see Brock back. I don't want to see Brock back until he's 100% healthy. Just keep rolling out Mac.
No, I agree. I mean, the defense had some major issues today as well. I mean, when you have guys that can't run by you and you play that soft and you allow, there's no reason in the world, if you watch that Seattle game, there's no reason in the world not to have tight coverage against Xavier Hutchinson, Jalen Knoll, Jaden Higgins, Dalton Schultz. They should have been in those guys' hip pocket. They should have been, sending those guys a physical message early and often. And instead, they played soft and they allowed these guys to make plays almost unchallenged in some cases. I mean, the coverage, watching that soft coverage against those mediocre receivers, and then watching the 49ers have no receivers that scare you right now. I mean, they just don't have anybody who's like, that guy could make a house call. It's like, who? I mean, Jennings, slow, Bourne's kind of old. Watkins is in his first NFL game. Demarcus Robinson is a really good red zone mismatch, and he got his red zone mismatch catch. But they don't have that big X receiver. I mean, Ricky Pearsall, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe he'll be back next week. We'll see, but we'll see. I don't know. Ricky Pearsall is not showing me that he's durable.
Well,
they don't really have that guy.
To Mac's credit in this game, like I don't know if he had even the time to throw to anyone in the first half of this game. Like I agree with you that the Niners don't have receivers, but in the second half of that game, like Mac was diming. Like the throw to Bourne on that went off of his hands, like that was a beautiful throw. The throw to Watkins, beautiful throw. The throw to Jennings, great throw. I mean, the Niners were scoring with through the skin of their teeth. Like the George Kittle touchdown, he wasn't even open. The Juwan Jennings catch on the one, was he even open? Both of those guys were double coverage. So
That's what I'm saying. They have no separation ability at all. It's just like Mac Jones is out there throwing dimes, but he's throwing dimes to guys that are just absolutely covered, and sometimes they make some amazing catches.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. There was a couple drops in this game. Jordan Watkins, terrible drop. Jennings there was a deep ball to Jennings that I thought he could have caught. It was a tough catch, but it hit his hands. And if it hits your hands in the NFL, you got to catch the ball.
Yeah, it was a little bit over his head, I think. Maybe I know what you're saying. That was he should have made that catch.
I'm so sick of this defense too. I wasn't on the stream last week. I give Saleh so much credit for his defensive game plan versus Atlanta. He's blitzing guys. He was mixing it up. He finally got away from that vanilla defense and just didn't really see any of that today. It's like if your defense, like it's like simple common sense. This defense has no talent. If they just line them up and play, they will not turn the ball over. They just won't. They're going to sit in soft zones, make it super easy, and maybe you just got to kind of hope you get lucky. So if that's your defense, why not play a little more risk-reward defense? Go dial stuff up. If you blow a coverage and they score a touchdown, I don't really care because at least you're getting the defense off the field. But at least try and dial something up, something confusing, something where maybe you can intercept the ball. Like they need a more high variance defense. Like they're just they have one way that they want to win. And it's Kyle's way on offense, control the clock, run game, get up, hold on. And then defense, get them dropping back and just pinning their ears back. They don't have the talent for it right now. So like, I just want to see something more creative than this. Cause it just seems like any game where they get down 7-10 points, like it's just curtains. It's going to be curtains.
That's always been the way it is with Kyle. When the Niners win and Kyle has success, it's generally they get up in the first quarter by 1 or 2 scores and they're able to, put pressure on the quarterback in the pass. Like you said, there's no defensive pass rush at all. I mean, they are down just about everybody on the D line. So they're going to have to make a trade for an edge rusher. They're going to have to. You got what, 2 weeks to go or less than that for the trade deadline. They got basically one more game before the trade deadline, and you're not going to.
Because games like today, they don't look like a team that should be trading future assets for anything for this year. When you look this bad defensively, and offensively, look at all the big play ability that you don't have on offense, and look at all the big plays that you just gave up on defense.
Just trade your third round pick.
30-yard pass play to Hutchinson, 44-yard pass play to Jalen Knoll, 50-yard pass play to Woody Marks. You can't give up massive, huge, gashing plays. It wasn't that Houston was that dominant, but they made big plays against this 49er defense. So,
they should just trade all their third round picks. They pass every year anyway on the third round.
Yeah.
It
is a conundrum. It is a little bit of a question. Like, what do you do here? Do you sit here and go, well, this is the team that just made the Falcons, held their offense, Bijan down and held them in check. And, this team, on any given Sunday can look really good. Or do you say, hey, it's not worth it. This is a team that's, really struggling, may have to go the rest of the way with their backup quarterback. Who knows about Ayuk's status, though? Shanahan did say Friday that he may be at practices as soon as Wednesday. But what do you do at the trade deadline if you're John Lynch with this hand of cards? How would you guys play your hand of cards here?
I'd go after a younger defensive line guy. I like Jermaine Johnson. I just really, I felt like Jermaine Johnson was kind of connected to the Niners when he was coming out in the draft. I still kind of believe in Jermaine Johnson. Go get a guy like that. But definitely don't break the bank. And if you're going to get, I don't know, I wouldn't hate if they just got brought in some type of speed on offense. Like, I don't really know what that means. Like, I obviously don't go out and pay a bunch of money for anybody or picks, but like, they just have no speed, no big playability on offense. Like, CMC is fantastic. He doesn't really have that like crazy breakaway gear anymore. Like, he still's amazing, but it's like you think back to the Niners teams of the past, and it's like their offense was pretty conservative, but it's like they had Mostert who could break one at any point. Breida could break one at any point. They had just these speed dudes. And then, obviously Debo. And they just had guys that, like, you could throw a screen pass and it could be broken for 80 yards, 70 yards. And they just don't have any of that. They just have all these guys that run a 4.6. Like, I like Pearsall. I didn't really like that Pearsall pick because it's like, all right, you kind of just got to get another guy who doesn't have great separation, and kind of reminds me, it's just like Jennings, Pearsall. You can get some separation, but like nothing crazy. It's like, look at the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs every year are just like, or the Dolphins. They're like, you know what? There's a guy that runs a 4.2, Xavier Worthy. He doesn't really know how to run routes. Let's just take him. Let's just get guys that can break plays and break the game open. Yeah.
I mean, they don't have that. They don't have that player. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I don't know if he's available or not. And because they've been Dinah Rossini. Who knows if her reporting's accurate? But she's reporting that the Jacksonville Jaguars are listening on Brian Thomas. Now, here's the thing: if you're the 49ers, what do you do at the trade deadline? I don't think that you do anything at the trade deadline if it's just about this year. But I look at the trade deadline as a way to keep building your football team. So I don't think it makes any sense at all to trade any assets of any kind for anybody who's like done at the end of the year or headed towards free agency. If you're headed towards free agency, I don't think it makes any sense to acquire that guy if you're the 49ers. But if you feel like you can make a trade and kind of reshape your football team, Brian Thomas Jr., to me, is the guy to go get. Now, I know a lot of people would say, "Oh, come on, they need defensive line, they need this." Yeah, right now they need defensive line, but foundationally, they need to draft an offensive tackle in the first round, and yet they don't have that vertical X receiver that they've always had. And here is a 23-year-old vertical X receiver who was, I think he's a future all-pro vertical X. He's an all-pro receiver. He's 6'3", he's 210, he's 90th percentile in wingspan. He ran 4.33. This guy's a great route runner. He's got rare size. I mean, he's incredible. I mean, the NFL, if you look at the NFL, around the NFL, there are not a lot of these gigantic X receivers, the Julio Joneses and the Megatrons and these guys. They don't really exist anymore. And here's Thomas, who led all rookies. He had almost 1,300 receiving yards. He was like third best in the entire league last year. He's got amazing burst off the line of scrimmage. He's slippery off the line. He's tall. He's lanky. He doesn't get along with Trevor Lawrence. If you looked at Brian Thomas's greatest run last year, it was with Mac Jones at quarterback. I realize the Niners have invested a lot in receivers, but think about it. At the end of the year, you're going to say goodbye to JJ. What do you got? You got nothing really long term. And if the talk is that they're going to take pennies on the dollar for Brian Thomas, that they're going to probably take like a second round pick. I would trade a second round pick for Brian Thomas, who is a game breaker. And part of the fact that they can't run the ball very well this year has to do with the fact that nobody really honors the deep game. And I think Thomas would be way better in San Francisco than he is in Jacksonville. So there's my 2 cents. I know they need defensive linemen. I know they need other things. But this two things can be equally true. I mean, you could have a dynamic X receiver that could be the foundation piece of your offense going forward. If that's what you got out of this season, then you know what? I'm okay with it. I mean, some years you're going to build, some years you're going to win. Hopefully you can do both. But I mean, it doesn't look like they're going to win this year. That's what it looks like after this.
Yeah. I mean, I would pay a premium for BTJ not a first round pick or a second round pick, but if you could get him for a third or a fourth, I mean, I would do it. I would take advantage of the situation that's going on in Jacksonville where there's some he seems like he hates playing football over there. I mean, I don't like guys that hate playing football, but I do like someone who's athletic as BTJ. And if you look at his numbers with Mac Jones, I mean, they had, I mean, yeah, if we're gonna get Kendrick Bourne and say, oh, Bourne's great with Mac, and he has been great with Mac, BTJ is another guy to add to that list. BTJ was amazing with Mac Jones last year. I would love to have BTJ on this team because you need guys. I mean, Ryan said it, like it's like they just don't have the firepower anymore. Like it's just they were a team with tons of A-star players, and now they've lost all of those guys. And you got CMC, you got some guys on defense, but I mean, you don't really actually have any guys on defense. It's just a bare bones team right now, and I wouldn't give up on the season. I mean, they lost this game, but they have a very easy schedule coming up. Besides the Rams, they play the Giants, Cardinals, Panthers, Browns, Titans. That might be the best stretch in football. Like, I don't think you could have a better, next 5 games than the Niners do. So the season is not over by any means. So take a shot, get a player that can be on your roster for a few years and get better in the future. I would do that for sure.
Let me say 2 things. Listening to all of us in the room, I kind of have a somewhat of a different take on what I watched today. Houston is a bad matchup for the 49ers. They're just a bad matchup because they rush the passer with 4 guys. They don't have to blitz. They don't have to do any of that shit. They get after the quarterback. C.J. Stroud is a good quarterback when he has a window to throw in. You put pressure on him and you heat him up, he looks totally different. But if you give that guy the China wall, the Great Wall to pass behind, he can deliver passes. I mean, he's taken his team to the playoffs already. Nick Chubb, I think Cleveland is disappointed that they got rid of that guy. I mean, they got some good running backs, kid from Ohio State, but Nick Chubb, he's had some good games this year. And the wide receiver and the running back from USC, from Mississippi State, he's a good player. He's a hell of a player. I look at all of the tackles that this defense had today. Bethune had 15 tackles. Upton had, 11? I mean, these guys did not give up. Now, it's frustrating to watch them, but I just think that they ran up against a team that's a bad matchup. They have 0 pass rush. We all know they have no pass rush. I mean, Huff is not playing. So the 49ers are actually looking at their purse string saying, well, do we want to go out and spend money? Listen, they play the Raiders next week. If the 49ers can't beat the Raiders on the road, then cash in your chips. But this is a playoff team. Mac Jones, to me, is the starter right now. I wouldn't take that guy out of the game for nothing in the world unless he's hurt. Then I would not dance around this if Brock is 100%. No, Mac Jones is playing well enough to play. If they played a perfect game, they possibly could have won. Calvin Watkins, dude, ball's right in your hands. You got to catch the ball, all right? There were a couple of plays, even Will Smith, Will Anderson, he smacked Mac Jones in the face. They didn't call it. If they make that, that's a big play in the game. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of thoughts here. I don't think this team is bad. I give them a lot of respect for how they competed based on their ability. This is not the most talented team, but they compete, man. They really did. I was pretty proud of the guys, how they competed.
It's a rough day when 3 of your top 5 tacklers are DBs, though.
That's not true. Look at the linebackers, though. But 15.
Bethune had 14 tackles. According to ESPN, Bethune had 14 tackles. Mustafa had 12. Yeah. Winters had 11. I don't know. I don't want to say those were quiet tackles, but it's like I noticed Bethune missing a few tackles in this game, as many as I saw him make, but it's good to see that he had 14 tackles. And when I watched the game again, I thought the guy in the second half who was playing out of his skull was Upton Stout. It just seemed like Upton Stout. I mean, he had that one play where he missed the sack on Stroud in the backfield. Then he still made the play down the field. I mean, that's unbelievable hustle right there. So, I mean, there were some good things on defense. Collins stayed in there despite the injury. So obviously that hopefully wasn't too serious. But yeah, I mean, they missed Fred in this game bad. I mean, there were several times where it's like, you know what, there was good penetration by the tackles, and the back runs into the Niners defensive line, runs into a wall, and is standing behind the wall, and nobody wraps him up. And then the guy comes from outside the wall and runs for 5 yards, and then somebody wraps him up. So it's like they're tackling was not good at times because it just was like, wow. I mean, you can't get this guy down. I mean, there was one play where it was it was a play on the 20-yard line, and the guy was tackled on the 19-yard line, and then he got free and he got like 6 yards after that. So it was a rough game. I mean, the 49ers defense, Mikael Williams, I mean, I don't know what to say about him. I mean, it's like there's all these people that tell me how great he is. There was one Stroud run where Mikael totally lost contain. He was the only guy on that side, and he's just totally pinned in, and Stroud's running in the clear, and it's like that's his side. I mean, it's like, dude, you're supposed to keep contained. Usually it's hard to keep contained on a back, or a receiver, but it's really not that hard to keep a quarterback contained in that situation. It's just he got pinned inside. So he didn't make a lot of tackles. I didn't see a lot from the Niners defensive line. They just seem wired to a very, very pedestrian Houston offensive line. I mean, guys, I don't know if you know this, but Houston coming into this game was 30th in run block win rate and 30th in pass block win rate. So there's only 32 teams in football. That was the third worst offensive line in football. And the 49ers had what? They had 0 sacks all day, and they had 3 TFLs all day, and they only had 2 hits on the quarterback all day.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not getting it done. You got to have 8 to 10 hits on the quarterback behind that kind of a line. You got to hit the quarterback, and they can't hit the quarterback. So that's a long-term issue. They're gonna have to figure out that's gonna be a John Lynch thing. He's probably gonna have to get them some help if they're going to be able to hit the quarterback right now, because they just can't. They can't mount a pass rush.
Yeah, I saw one blitz where Stroud hurried and threw it away. I mean, and then they just didn't go back to it. Like Rye was saying earlier, you got to mix it up. Stroud was not he's not a guy that does that great, especially with backup receivers, when you put pressure on him. And to get pressure, you got to rush him. But I wanted to ask you guys real quick when we get into Mac Jones. Mac was 19 of 32, 59%. 3 drops at least, so that would have raised him up to 69%. He would have been 22 for 32. I look at Mac Jones, and he's gutsy. He stays in that pocket. He'll take big hits. He's taller. He's 6'3". He just looks more like Purdy seems to get happy feet when you put pressure on him a little bit, kind of like Jimmy used to. I love Brock's mobility and able to get out and make plays happen. But I'm looking at this cap with Brock down the road. It's really not until 28 season where it's a real big cap hit. The next couple of years are pretty team friendly. I'd almost sign Mac to an extension and then move Brock off when that contract gets really big in 28 and have Mac locked up for, I think you can get him for a lot cheaper than what you could Purdy. Maybe you can even trade Purdy next year. But I like Mac Jones in this offense. He just delivers a nice ball. He throws it he can thread it with velocity. And I'm not saying that he's better than Brock, but when you look at the contract, couldn't the Niners sign Mac for cheaper and then kind of get more players, better players, playmakers without that heavy QB contract going forward?
I mean, it's worth discussing. Brock Purdy is their franchise quarterback. Are you saying, Danny, that they should pivot away from the decision they made to make him their franchise quarterback just based on the fact he was hurt this year, and that based on what you've seen so far of Jones? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really like Jones as well. I see what you're saying. I mean, it's obvious that the question, I guess, then is, what would you even get for Brock Purdy? And either way, they're going to have to build up their receiving core. They're going to have to build up their offensive line. They're going to have to build up their defense.
Put some money in that O-line. Dang.
But I mean, either way, that whether it's Jones or Purdy, they have to build that thing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's worth discussing, and it's like a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it's not a discussion." Well, it is a discussion. It absolutely is a discussion, and there, if you wanted to say that Brock Purdy is better than Jones, you could make that argument. If you wanted to argue that Jones was the better guy to go with long term, you could make that argument. But it's not like it's like, oh my God, there's no argument to make. It's not. We're not talking about that level. I think Brock's the better player with more elements to his game. But when you factor in the money and everything, and there's the health and all that, I mean, I kind of think that probably their best action is to stay with Mac Jones next year and resist any overtures to trade him and bring him back as the number 2 quarterback. You can't get through, more than a handful of games with Brock Purdy. I don't think you can go into a season just saying, you know what, Brock's going to start every game.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's hear from Shanahan. I think he weighed in on this. Let's hear from him here. He went to the podium and talked a little bit about, what he saw at the game, in this game, and he's sometimes blunt in these situations. Here it is from Kyle Shanahan.
Can a game like this damage your team's morale, spirit, or even
I would hope not. I mean, got beat today. Credit to them. They kicked our ass, and we got to take it like men and come back, hopefully a little pissed off, and go to work and play better next week than we did this week.
was that your message to the team?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's not much to sugarcoat there. I was real disappointed in how we looked for all 4 quarters. First half was unacceptable, and second half didn't get much better. So not much to say about it, except that we'll look it on the plane and figure out all the things that we know we can correct and that we did mess up. But expect the guys to come in tomorrow with a chip on their shoulder, ready to get back to work.
There you go. You guys take anything from that at all, or is that just
They did get their ass kicked. That is the end of it.
It's accurate. You're saying he's accurate.
I know. I've been a little quiet here. I was digging up some stats. Earlier, I said I'm about to dump some stats on us. But earlier, I said the Niners game starts and ended with the defensive line. Here are some stats that I just dug up. Mac Jones was pressured 18 times on half of his dropbacks. That's 50% of his dropbacks. He was pressured. When he was under pressure, he went 4 for 13, 64 yards and a pick. Stroud was pressured at a season low 21.4% of his dropbacks. So season low 21.4% of his dropbacks. Despite the 49ers blitzing on a season high 33.3% of their dropbacks. When the Niners didn't blitz, they had a 7.1% pressure rate. So the Niners had to bring the pressure. They brought it at a season high. And despite that, they still couldn't get pressure. And when they didn't blitz, they really didn't get pressure. And Mac Jones was pressured all day long. So that's the story right there, in my mind.
Well, and also, I mean, look at what their draft picks. I mean, you are what you are in the moment, right? Some people can say, well, long term, and yeah, long term. But today, you drafted McKell in the first round. He didn't do anything today. You drafted Collins in the second round. He got hurt today. And you drafted West in the third round, and he was inactive today. And his snap total has gone down every game. So it's like these are the guys that you invested in up front, and you're not getting very much bang for your buck, so to speak.
God.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this
bad.
Niners team, you wouldn't guess that they spent their first 3-round picks on defensive linemen. It doesn't look like a team that just went all in on defensive line.
It's just, I just hate the way they draft. I hate it so much. We're going to see it again next year. They went into last year and they said, I don't care. I don't give a shit about best player available. I don't care who falls to us. We are taking 3 straight defensive linemen.
Right.
Like that was what they did. They said, sorry, while I removed this in. They said, we're going to take whoever, whatever defensive line. It was the same thing. It's the same thing every year. I mean, it's why they picked Mitch Wishnowsky in the 3rd round. Like they literally were like, we're going to take a punter in the 3rd round. Same thing with Moody. Like that's the way they go into drafts. They never go best player available. Oh my God, Tyler Warren fell to us. Let's take him.
Right.
They don't do that. They don't ever do that. And it's frustrating. I mean, they're going to go into next year's draft and they're going to say, we're going to go 3 straight offensive linemen. And then depending on where they are, they might end up with a total bum at offensive line when there's some great value somewhere else. Like it's so frustrating.
It really is.
That's great analysis, really. When you look at the NFL, and there's about 4 or 5 franchises historically that have always beat everybody else in the draft. The Steelers, the Packers, Ravens, I'm sure there's some other ones. Yeah, I mean, so you're right. You're right. I mean, Philly, the Eagles, certain organizations look at players and they evaluate players and they say, I got to get that guy. I don't care what position he plays. When you draft 3 straight defensive linemen, your vision is narrowly set on what you need to do, regardless of how good these players are. So I would agree with you, Ryan. They need to change their philosophy in that respect.
Larry, where does that come from? Is that Lynch or Shanahan, or whose philosophy is making the calls on this draft?
Well, I mean, they're the 2 central figures. The buck stops with them. I'm sure but I think that's part of the issue is that I don't think they have a strong personnel voice that just says we're doing it this way. I think they take a little bit over here, a little bit from their research and development, a little bit from the analytics crowd. They're looking to build consensus. When you're trying to serve all these masters, you don't. Oftentimes, you wind up doing nothing. Now, I liked a lot of their picks, but I mean, it's just you when you're going to invest that much in your defensive line, you invested, a 1st-round pick, a 2nd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick. And you're in the meat of your schedule. What did you get out of that today? You got 3 tackles out of Mikael Williams, no sacks. Again, for Collins, you got 2 tackles, no sacks. So you got 5 tackles out, and West didn't play. So you got 5 tackles, no sacks out of your 1st and 2nd round defensive linemen. It's like you got to get sacks. I mean, you got to get big plays. Part of the reason the Niners have gone so many games without getting a pick is they don't put enough pressure on you up front, and then they lose Bosa, lose Huff. Yeah, I mean and I guarantee you that a game like this, I mean, there's sharks that live in this league. So all these GMs are sharks. They're going to look at this tape, and suddenly the price tag for every edge rusher that John Lynch is inquiring about just, held steady or went up because everybody knows they're desperate. They can't rush the passer. They looked really bad. They let CJ Stroud and a bunch of rookie receivers behind one of the NFL's worst lines sit back there and carve you up like a Thanksgiving turkey. He was 30 of 39, but if you look closer at those numbers, it was worse than that because at halftime, his number, let me tell you what his number was at halftime. It was really, really good. Stroud was 23 of 28 at the end of the first half, 23 of 28. So, I mean, that's a high completion percentage. And he's operating on a bad line. He's throwing to rookie receivers. And you, instead of challenging their rookie receivers, you played behind them, played soft, and took bad angles. I think one of the bad things in this game when they look at it is the play of the safeties. Mustafa and Brown took some horrible angles. Mm-hmm. Horrible. Renardo Green has regressed significantly. I thought, he seems like a guy they're picking on quite a bit, and there's nothing, as Kev aptly pointed out, they got nothing going on up front. Nothing. So
your safeties aren't going to look good when you can't rush the passer. There was a couple plays Brown got burned, Mustafa got burned on the deep crosser from Knoll, but that's a long developing play where Stroud's sitting in the pocket, then rolls left, and no one in his face, and he can hit Knoll, 30 yards down the field because Mustafa has to cover him on a, kind of on an out route when he has inside leverage. Those are hard plays to make unless you're just an insane athlete. And Mustafa is a good safety, but it's hard to make those plays when Stroud has all day. I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, I hate to say it, and I want to keep talking about this game, but I mean, they're running up against. They should beat the Giants on paper. I think we all beginning of the season were like, "Oh, Giants, that's going to be an easy game." I mean, it's the same recipe. If they show up and play the same way, it's going to be the same result. They're going up against a team that is brimming with first-round picks on the defensive line that are going to be coming after them. And it's like, is Dart a great player right now? No, but he can make some stuff happen. And if there's no pressure, and like if they're going to look like that when a quarterback's scrambling, like he's just going to drive them crazy. And if the Giants get up early, they're just going to be teeing off.
I mean,
like,
I'll say, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'll say it right now. If the Niners don't get pressure on Jackson Dart, he will cook them up. Like that's the one thing that Dart is very good at. He can evade pressure, he can run himself, and he can find guys down the field. He doesn't have neighbors, but he did it today against the Eagles, and they lost Scatabo, so
yep,
they don't really have a run game. But yeah,
I mean, they will versus the Niners.
Yeah,
Tracy is going to look great. Singletary is going to gash them. And like Jackson Dart is apt to do some dumb shit. He's got some of that like early Josh Allen. Like he'll try and evade. He's getting tackled by 3 or 4 guys and throw the ball up. Like he's gonna give the ball up and it's gonna be available to take away. And the Niners have to capitalize on it. If they don't, it's gonna be pretty embarrassing.
Well, I mean, the big question in that game is going to be, can the Niners block that defensive line? I mean, you just saw this Texan defensive line. I mean, Will Smith just absolutely dominated McKivitz. Now, Danielle Hunter was very quiet against Trent Williams. Danielle Hunter didn't do a whole lot in this game, but Will Anderson, my God. I mean, 3 hits on the quarterback. He just seemed like he was just way, way too much for McKivitz. And now you got this line that has Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns. I mean, they got
Abdul Carter.
Abdul Carter,
and you got Gable who's coaching for his life right now.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, can the Niners block this defensive line? I think that's the big question. I mean, it's like this offensive line is just it just feels like they can't, like they're just way overwhelmed at all times on their offensive line. What did you guys think of Hennessy? Did you guys notice Hennessy at all today in the game?
I thought he did good. I mean, for a guy who they brought up on what he was based on, was he on the practice squad? They brought him up, or was he just a reserve?
He was a reserve.
No, I mean stepping in, playing center. I thought he did a decent job, all things considered. I also go ahead.
No, it's good. You can go, Frank.
No, I just also like I'm thinking about the Giants. I misspoke and said the Raiders. They played the Giants. I also like the fact that I saw Tongas and Kittle on the field at the same time. I think they're going to probably have to use that combination against the Giants. I don't know if their linebackers can really cover. So
you mentioned Hennessy. I only can remember one play. There was one play where they pulled Hennessy and they pulled him out and he went to the right and he was one-on-one with Roy Anderson and Anderson just ate him up. And I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, what's the thought process on that? I don't like Hennessy against Anderson one-on-one.
Patrick says McKivitz got cooked today. I mean, I didn't even watch the film, but I could see that. Also, here's the other question. Is Nick Martin a bust? I mean, where's Nick Martin? He doesn't ever play. I mean, you're playing Gifford, you're playing Curtis Robinson. These guys are playing over a guy that you took on day 2 of the draft. I don't get that.
3rd round pick.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd round pick. Where's your 3rd round linebacker?
I mean, the thing on him is that he's insanely raw. But
like
I guess
3rd round,
this is telling us that they think he's very, very raw.
Well, it's also just like it goes back to their draft strategy, though. It's like, so why did they draft all these defensive linemen, defensive players? Well, because like that's what they need right now, this upcoming season, in order for them to contend. Is they need all this defensive help. So what we should definitely do is just draft a super, super raw, talent in Mikael Williams, and then a super raw guy in Nick Martin, who's going to be, the 5th string linebacker. Like, what was the point if that's, if these guys aren't ready to play?
Man, what a crushing defeat this is. Now, obviously, the Niners have a very fortunate schedule and things, they'll be able to rebound probably, but they just right now, I mean, they just don't look like they have much of much offensively. They don't look like they've got a lot on their defensive line. It's a very young secondary that looks, you get some safeties that look like they're taking some bad angles. It's one of those things where it's like you're looking at them going, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this? Should we hit some supers?
Let me just drop the sleeper lineup in here. We didn't hit this week. It was an all around L for the Niners and us. This was the lineup.
Schultz
over 41.
I don't think that was me. I don't think I like Schultz. I don't know who we did this lineup with, but
You're
somebody
passing off blame here.
Yeah, I'm passing off blame. I didn't.
Stroud under 199 passing yards. He had 318.
I did say Jalen Noel. I know.
Noel
I said
looked
that.
good today. Pinheiro didn't have a field goal. McCaffrey barely hit.
I said Pinheiro. Yeah, the bottom three were me, but yeah. Oh well. Damn it. Oh no, I'm just kidding. Check out Sleeper. We should. Damn that Sleeper. Start cursing Sleeper. No, 49er football season all season long is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chats, season-long leagues, and of course Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. So use that promo code Larry, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply.
And make sure it's Larry, not Lawrence. That will not work.
Is there a move? Is there a move that you think would jumpstart this team? Because that's really what they need more than anything. They need a little bit of a jumpstart here. They got a very late in the season bye. It's a week 14 bye, so they're going to be limping towards their bye at the end of the year. But we're only going into week 9. But the trade deadline's coming up. What would you do? I almost feel like if I could trade one decent pick, I would try to make multiple trades, but if I could trade I kind of feel like the 49ers are more in need of multiple players than they are for like one great player. Not to say that if they could get a great player, they wouldn't want him, but I'm just saying I think they could use a building block, outstanding young player receiver, or they could use a young prospect offensive lineman. Or they could use, a real impactful defensive lineman. Or they could use an extra corner or an extra linebacker, or they could use all of it. I mean, it's literally, I think they can use a lot of different things. I would look at this instead of like, are we in it? Are we out of it? This and that. I would just look at it like, you're just another team in a good league. Keep building. So don't trade for guys who are free agents. But, this is a volatile game. And if you think about it, I think having a philosophy where you're aggressive in season with trades, I think is smart. Why? Because I think teams get emotional about the players they want to get rid of in the middle of the year. Like if Jacksonville gets rid of Brian Thomas, it's going to be stupid and based on emotion. From what I can tell, based on the quotes coming out of the New York Jets camp, Aaron Glenn's very impulsive, very emotional. He's already decided he doesn't like certain guys. They may trade a good player or two. The Raiders always get impulsive. Pete Carroll benched Jackson Powers Johnson last week. I would look for a young player that I thought I could get for a day 3 pick because they're a little bit of a dice roll, and that young player oftentimes is less of a dice roll. I would try to get a couple young players, Brian Thomas, Jackson Powers Johnson, Quinnen Williams. Let me pick off a young player that makes me a better team this year and going forward. What do you guys think? That's what I would look to do at the deadline. A great player, not just a Arden Keys doesn't move the needle for me. But if I can get a great Quinnen Williams, if I can get a great Brian Thomas, if I can get a great player like that, kind of the way the Giants did this year with Devers. They didn't win anything, but they got a great foundation piece. They move forward. I think if I'm Lynch, that's what I'd like to see Lynch do.
Quinn Williams is a great name. And I mean, he's a bona fide Pro Bowl caliber defensive lineman. and he would shake things up. I mean, he would kind of be, kind of a Trent Williams on the defensive line. I mean, the 49ers have some good young talented players. They're just not there yet. So they need an anchor. They need an anchor on the defensive line. They haven't had an anchor in the defensive backfield in a while. So to me, those are the two areas. Offensive line, obviously, like you talked about, they need to step up and draft a guy in the first round who's really, really good. But if I can get a good defensive lineman or a back-end corner who can shut folks down, that's the way I would go.
What about rolling the dice on? I was just looking at list of guys who might be available.
Yeah.
Rolling the dice on Evan Neal. I mean, I've absolutely hated everything I've seen from Evan Neal.
New York Giants
since
offensive tackle.
Yeah, since he stepped into the league. But I mean, he is 25. He was a former, high first-round pick, offensive tackle. Not getting paid very much.
I like the idea
Roll
of
the dice.
getting a highly rated offensive lineman. I mean, Tennessee's got Pete Skoronski, who's young. They also have Kevin Zeitler, who's old. Maybe if the Niners really want to start improving, maybe it starts with maybe a strong running game. Maybe you take out a Colby and plug in a veteran and try to run there. I don't know. I don't know what the game plan should be at this point because they're so gutted by losing Bosa and Warner that I don't know that any kind of short-term Zeitler type player makes sense for them. I think it's more like if I could find a great offensive or defensive young player that can be a kind of a foundation piece going forward, do it, because look what Trent Williams has given the Niners. Look what CMC has given the Niners. Those both came in trades. NFL trades, a lot of times the draft picks are so heavily valued that the return on veteran players is oftentimes muted. And if you can get a really good veteran player that can change your situation, if it's a young veteran, I think it's worth doing. So it's just an idea. Let's hit some supers here, and we'll see what people have to say. We got this one from Nick R. Ownership needs to hire an outside medical audit. There has to be something missing. Practice schedule, nutrition, warm-ups, advice is needed. 2,000 plus games missed in Kyle era. Insane. Yeah, they flashed that stat. The 49ers have lost 2,036 games to injury since 2017, since the Lynch Shanahan regime took over. Yeah, I mean, they do seem like they have an inordinate number of guys going down. It's not something it's a trend that, unfortunately, it's impossible to not notice, right? And then the question is, people are like, well, blame Dustin Perry. I saw Johnny Dells is on Twitter saying, blame Dustin Perry. And it's like, all right. I mean, Johnny, do you really know that Dustin Perry's the issue, or did you just?
I would hate to
up
shoot. I would hate to shoot darts blindly and call for someone to be fired.
Right. I mean, it's just so not. It's just so in the midst of a football game. You're going to fire that off in the midst of the game. I mean, it's just like that's a little too knee-jerk reaction. That's a little too emotionally charged. And you're talking about a real person with, a real job, it's like not, and now you're calling for them to be fired. And I'm sure you have somebody at the ready who is better and should be hired, and it's like, once again, it's like, I love this. I love doing the post game. It's a lot of fun. And I love rapping with my friends and having a good time. But a little bit of the bipolar Bobness of the post game, it gets to be a little much. I got to be honest, because it's just come on. We all get emotional. I'm no different. Heck, I'm probably leading the charge. But I just think that, it just, if you're going to call for somebody's gig, that's fine with me. It's pretty harsh, but it's fine with me. But just do it. Try to do it, infrequently, maybe, I guess, as opposed to 5 times a year. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm saying. Let's go to Will Freeze. He says, at this point, I'm focused on evaluating the young players, and I'm not sure what to make of Williams. He had some good games, but he was useless today. How would you guys evaluate him at this point? he's
He's
to
a
me,
solid player.
He's
I
a
think he's a solid
big interior rusher who is only going to be awesome if he's surrounded by awesome. He's not going to be like, the guy that keeps you up all night. But if you have him rushing inside as part of a deep collection on the line, I think he can be part of someday what amounts to an overwhelming line and even be a key cog on an overwhelming line. That day's not today. And this line is not that line right now. So right now, without Bosa and without Huff, they're asking him to dial up some heat off the edge. He doesn't dial up heat off the edge. That's not what he does. He's an interior rusher with a great body for the game, and he's tough as heck, but he's under skilled. It's no different than a basketball player or baseball player. Baseball player's got tools, but he's not consistent. A basketball player who's got clear athleticism, but there's no consistency. He's just in that phase of his career. He's going to be really good, but I don't think he's ever going to be like a 10, 12 sack guy off the edge. Don't see it. Didn't see it at Georgia. Didn't see it in the draft lead up. Don't see it now. But I do think he can be very effective as an interior rusher. And guys, interior rushers make a shit ton of money in the NFL. So it's not like oh, well, he could help there. It's like he could be very useful there, but you got to have better he would have been really good with their original plan, which is Bosa off this edge, Huff off that edge, Gross Matos and McKell inside, spread the line wide, lots of room inside. Here's a guy, with that plan, he's really good. But in this plan where he's now has to dial up heat off the edge, he doesn't have that next level escapability or quickness and speed, and he gets wired inside. So anyway.
I think he's too athletic to not be something. Like, he's going to be something. That something may not be great. He might be really good. He's just too athletic, and he doesn't get moved. Like, he can really just anchor in and just stand his ground. And like against tight ends, he can just long arm them and just rip right past them. But he does get stood up a lot when he's trying to rush the passer one-on-one, because he doesn't really have any real moves that make a tackle whiff,
Here's a question that I think all you guys should ask yourself, and we could debate it at some point, or you guys could give me who you guys would think of when you think about it for a minute. If I say to you, give me the two best young players on the 49ers, and you can you can define young any way you want. Really, I don't really care. You can define it. Like, I would consider Mac Jones young, even though a lot of people would say, well, he's not young. Yeah, well, he's 27, and he is going to probably play at least 10 more years in the NFL. So, yeah, I would say in his career, he's still pretty young. I seriously, if you said to me, who are the best young players on the Niners, I think it might be Mac Jones and Upton Stout. I know that sounds crazy, but Upton Stout is the one young DB that I really do believe in. I mean, he played so hard today. It was inspiring watching him play. And Jones, I think you guys are right to like Jones. I think he throws a good ball. He's accurate. He keeps his poise. He's tough. He can process. He's accurate. He's not a great movement athlete, but other than that, I mean, he's a really strong pocket quarterback, pocket passer who makes pretty good decisions. I think he's played, even in the games he's lost, I think he's kind of played pretty well. It's hard to evaluate the quarterback versus everything that goes on around him, but even in losses, I'm not sitting there going, Mac Jones, moron, you blew it. You did this, you did that. No, he's pretty smart. He makes good decisions. It doesn't always work out. I mean, the one touchdown they threw today to Kittle was a ball that easily could have been picked. But I admire Mac Jones for at least having the competitive fire to put it out there, and he's thrown a couple of those 50-50 balls and gotten away with them this year. So, I mean, I do think at the end of the day, that's part of playing that position. You got to take some shots. But if I say best young players on the Niners, if you guys want to throw one out, go ahead. But I like Upton Stout and I like Mac Jones.
I like Alfred Collins. When I look at his measurements, one of the things that he does well, he doesn't put a whole lot of pressure on the quarterback, but he's a pretty good bull rusher, and he knows how to tackle. He takes a lot of room up. I think he's going to be an outstanding player. And Stout jumps off the Upton Stout jumps off the television. He does. He's only going to get better. When you consider he played small college football, third-round pick, he looks like he's been playing like 3 or 4 years out there. So those are two players that I think are going to be high-level players for a long time.
Kind of like D. Winters. I think he's 25. I think he's going to get better. Bethune-'s 24. I mean, these guys with Fred Warner coming back next year, and they're getting, his input as he's out right now. I think these guys getting this kind of experience this year, I think these guys can improve. By the way, I wanted to throw out one other thing to you on trade. I read that Chris Olave is possibly on the market.
No, they said today he's not going to be
they
moved.
did say that today?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
All
they
right.
said. Yeah, I mean, that's what I read today, that Olave is not going to be moved. Joseph Ernberg says McKell at pick 11 was a waste. Busts two back to back, basically saying that Pearsall's a bust, I guess he's saying. Michael says JSN coupled with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet in the backfield is why Seattle had more success versus Houston's defense. 49ers not dynamic at wide receiver. Yeah, they really are not. I mean, it's just they don't have a lot right now. It's like it's not a great group.
I'd say their line also. I mean, like they've just been investing so much in their line. Like, God, I mean, I really just, you look back at the draft and it's like, maybe just trade back and take Gray Zabel. Guy's awesome.
Yeah,
and everyone knew he was going to be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and Seattle, I mean, Zabel's played well for them. And the Niners are a believer that they can do the line in later rounds, but I think you can fake the inside or fake. I mean, you can find late round guys in the inside, but the outside you can't. You have to draft them, and we'll probably see them draft a tackle this year. But it's like you get the feeling like they will draft a tackle this year, even if the greatest whatever is right there in front of their eyes. They will take a tackle. It's like they're kind of that kind of a team. Bill Kennedy says if the Niners play like today, they will be lucky to win 9 games. Harry Johnson, yes, says Givens should just go back on IR. No push at all. Yeah, I mean, seriously. You telling me that Sebastian Valdez can't help you? Really? You got nothing up front. You can't. You're wired to blockers. I mean, the one thing I don't even need to see the replay of the game to know is that the Niners defensive line got absolutely wired to the Houston offensive line. I felt like I was watching a dance contest. I mean, it was like nobody separated. Everybody was just like belly to belly the entire game. And it's like, yeah, Givens. I mean, you're not really strong against the run, so you have to give this team some pass rush. If you're not going to give them much pass rush, they might as well go with Valdez. And I Givens had the torn pec. He's made his way back, but yeah, how effective is he? Didn't look very effective today. Thomas Selman, horrid game. Wonder what travel plan is this week. They're coming back. They're not staying back east. They're coming back to Santa Clara, and then they're going to fly back to New York. Unless they're going to change their mind in the next 10 minutes or next day. I don't think the plan is to come back to the Bay Area. Heck Dell says Pearsall, Ayuk, Purdy, loading. Come on, Larry. You're so back and forth. Let them get healthy. I'm not back and forth at all. And when they play well, I tell you they play well. When they play poorly, I tell you they play poorly. And look what you're just saying there. Pearsall, Ayuk, Purdy. Let's review that for a second. Pearsall has been out for several weeks with a knee. There's no guarantee he's going to come back. And when he does come back, my guess is he plays a game or two, and then he's out. His overall durability is in question at this point. Ayuk is lucky to come back at all, and if he does, he's probably not going to be much this year. If you're expecting anything out of Ayuk, I think you're expecting too much. And Brock Purdy, really? A guy with turf toe who's been practicing and is going to force himself back out onto the field. realistically, I think Brock Purdy, unless he gets very fortunate, is either going to play through pain or he's going to play, a game or two before he has a recurrence of that turf toe. I mean, I
saw your deal with the doctor that you had on that. That's a
he said he needed 6 to 8 weeks, and he's not
easy
taking
to aggravate.
6 to 8 weeks.
Aggravate, yeah.
I mean, the other thing too, it's like the 49ers are allowing him to practice,
which is dumb.
And it's like, so he could hurt the thing at practice. And the doctor that I talked to said you need 6 to 8 weeks to make that thing go away. At no point have they given him 6 to 8 weeks off his toe. So I don't think it's realistic to think that. I don't think you're going to get a whole. I would say this, Hectel. Let's. Today is, what is today? October the 26th. Let's chart it from here. Let's see what Pearsall, Ayuk, and Purdy produce between now and the end of this season. I would say you're looking at very little from all of those guys. And that would just be my guess. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys agree? I don't think the Niners are getting a lot out of Pearsall. I would be shocked if Ayuk is back before December. And then what's he going to be after no camp and major knee injury? He's going to be a shadow of what he was. And Purdy with the turf toe, because that's going to get better. Hectel, I love you, and you're optimistic, and that's a great fan, but I think maybe you need to get more realistic and maybe come on over here. I'm not back and forth. As every football season that goes on, you get another chapter of the book. We're ultimately wondering how's this story going to end? Today really, really didn't look good, but beyond that, Pearsall, Ayuk, and Purdy, I think if you're going to talk about them as far as what they can produce, I think you probably should look ahead to 26.
Well, Pearsall would be the real bummer, because if Pearsall produces nothing this year and is just hurt all the time, that would be a bad look for him and that draft in general.
Here's a conversation also, just a talking point. I don't think any of us would challenge whether or not these guys are hurt. I would never do that. But I will say this. My college coach told me this, and I was like, wow. He said, you can play hurt. You can't play injured.
Yeah.
And a player has some say-so in that. Ricky Pearsall historically has had some health issues. Jawan Jennings plays hurt. He's been injured. He plays hurt. Doesn't always play well, but he plays hurt. So when I look at players, I think that's one of the things that, the 49ers have to look at, because they got some talent. But, this narrative is starting to write itself. Ricky Pearsall, for whatever reason, gets injured. And that affects him and the team because he's not on the football field. So that's something you got to look at. He's a good player, but he gets hurt. Is he fragile? Is he just injury prone? I don't know.
Hey, guys, Larry, I'm going to have to cut out. I got to be somewhere at 3 and got a little bit of a drive, but thanks for having me on.
That's what, Danny. Good to see you. NorCal Sports Network. Danny, Toronto going to win the World Series?
No.
No, they're not. No. Danny, the answer is yes. Toronto's going to win the World Series.
I hope. I'm hoping,
right.
but I don't think they will.
I hear you. The great Dan Coach Amelia from NorCal Sports Network. Let's hit the rest of these supers. Sells, surprise face. Everyone has been saying it for years. Build the O-line. Need a new D-line too. It is injury prone. Harry says any quarterback that doesn't get pressured will look great.
Facts.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Ernberg, no Martin, James, 2 plays for Watkins, trade picks. Yeah, exactly. If you can't hit on your picks, then you probably should trade them for veterans. The Nerd Nest with Marty, 1983. Niners are going back to the 2000s now. Los in the house says, Ryan echoing my draft anger. I'm all for it. Fire. Gold Tao says, here's $1.99 to go towards the $265 million pinky toe. Thank you, Gold Tao. Sells surprise face, fire the strength and conditioning coach. It's almost every year we're the most injured team. Tired of it. You know those guys just hate games like this. You know, like these Dustin Perry guys that their job's great and they're living in anonymity until game day, until somebody outs them on Twitter and says fire them, and all of a sudden there's this groundswell. Justin says drafted Nick Martin over Jalen Knoll and he killed us today while Martin couldn't see the field with 4 linebackers down. I know, shocking, absolutely shocking. And Martin did show some good things in the preseason. He still can't get out there.
The Niners are admitting that there's something there with Martin, because at this point it's like Martin is only going to play if he has to. Like he's the last guy that's going to get to see the field.
Right. I think the question has to be asked this week. Why don't you instead, like the loaded question, instead of the, how do you feel about Nick Martin? That's like it's like, why do you not like Nick Martin? Because you're not playing him. And
Like, what's the hesitancy behind not wanting to get any snaps for Nick Martin?
You haven't been able to get your 3rd round draft choice on the field. Why is that? Think of real tough ways to ask that question. Maybe then I'll just ask it like 9 times, like before the presser starts, and then I'll wait for like.
I mean, they had no hesitation to put Connor Colby, their what was that, 6th round pick on the
7th.
field, 7th round pick on the field immediately. So
Larry,
yes, Frank.
Coach Sala, what's your trust factor on Nick Martin?
Exactly. Yeah. What what did Nick do to you? Because something like that. Rob Amon says it may be time to change the business model. Lynch should just be president, hire a GM independent of Kyle with roster control. Kyle just coaches. Rob, I agree. I know that sounds knee jerk because they just lost the game, but I really believe that get everybody in the role that they're best at. You know what I mean? Go find a great scout who's been somebody's head of college scouting, who's awesome at it, and make him the general manager and give him control over the roster, and make Kyle just coach and tell John you're the president, but you're not the general manager. I agree. I totally agree. Now, if I say it, I'm an ass and people hate me and there's all kinds of people working behind the scenes to try to kneecap me. Rob, if you say it and I say I agree with you, maybe I don't get taken down. So thank you for saying it, Rob. Then I don't have
Seriously,
to.
like
It's true.
They've had some success in these like middle rounds, late rounds that have just saved their ass. I mean, the ultimate one was Purdy, but it's like in the entire Lynch, the entire Lynch Shanahan like run, it's like, I know the drill. Draft the bust in the first 2 to 3 rounds. Then Kyle gets to take some running back he's obsessed with. That guy's going to be a bust. And then, around the 6th round, we'll maybe draft a running back that actually plays or an undrafted guy. Like, when was the last time they had a top pick that was like a smash?
Bosa, Ayuk.
Yeah, but that when the decision was removed.
That's the second.
They literally had the best player in the draft just sitting there for them.
I guess Ayuk, Debo.
Debo's 2nd round. Ayuk worked out.
Heck, there's people in this chat that want to say Pearsall was a hit.
I mean, Pearsall can be a hit. He could hit. It's just they didn't need a receiver. Receivers are available at all times. Like, you could have taken Cooper DeJean. Like, I don't like it. I mean, Larry, you kind of disturbed me, honestly, earlier with that question of like
best young player on the team.
2 good young players, and it's like,
who is it?
Like the only questions the only answers are like guys that their upside is to just be an NFL starter. It's like best case scenario, Mikael Williams is like a slightly above average NFL starter. Like there's pretty much every other team in the league you can at least pick. Usually there's a couple offensive guys and a couple defensive guys that are like super exciting. And I mean, you look around the division, the Rams, Puka, Jared Verse, They've got linemen. They've got defensive players. Seattle's got a ton. Arizona has a ton.
JSN.
JSN. Like I don't have their like rosters pulled up. But
Devin Witherspoon. Yeah.
Seattle has a bunch of good guys on their defense that are super young. And
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I know a lot of people are like, everybody loves to just be the Johnny know-it-all and all these things. There's going to be a trade deadline. There's going to be a few trades made. And all I'm saying is use the trade deadline to see if you can find a player. Teams make smarter decisions in the offseason. They have all these meetings and time to think about it, but they make impulsive decisions in this sport if you do in-season deals. And if somebody really wants a trade, Brian Thomas Jr., who's one of the best young receivers in football, I would absolutely make that trade. Absolutely make that trade because you need that kind of a player. You don't have that player. That's a great young receiver. I mean, this is the franchise that had Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens. We know what great receivers look like, and we know when we don't have one. And Brian Thomas has some issue with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence laid him out to dry in week 1. There's a lot of people that say that they haven't gotten along at all since then. But Brian Thomas's greatest run in the NFL came in Jacksonville last year with Mac Jones throwing him the rock. And if you don't believe it, go look at the games yourself. Go look at the box scores. You'll see. I mean, Mac Jones had like a 5 or 6 week run there as the starter, and he just threw the ball constantly to Brian Thomas Jr., who's an outstanding young receiver. I've got some people in the chat here saying that Ricky Pearsall's better than Brian Thomas. Please stop. You're really, what's next? Pajemski's better than some awesome 2-guard now. I mean, enough with the hometown stuff. Okay. I can't go there anymore. I like Pearsall. I talk to him. He's an interesting guy. But my take on draft night, you can go back and look at it on the video if you want. I said, this guy's going to be great if he's tough. It's a referendum on his toughness. How tough of a guy is he in the middle of the field? Can he take all these hits and maintain his durability and be out there? Well, I mean, I think we have the answer to that question right now. He's hurt a lot, right? And he hasn't been out there for weeks. So they need a receiver. I mean, he's a first-round receiver. I mean, that's another one. It's like you're going to draft Ricky Pearsall in the first round. When is Ricky Pearsall ever going to be the 49ers' best receiver? And if he is their best receiver, how good of a team are they? So, I mean, I'm not anti-Ricky Pearsall. I can see that there's going to be durability issues. The one thing people don't realize about Debo and Ayuk and these guys the Niners have had, JJ, these are some of the toughest guys in the entire league. Some of the toughest guys in the whole room are Debo and Ayuk and JJ. So it takes a lot of toughness to play receiver in the NFL. And it's like the number one thing. When you see receivers that you're like, oh, that guy was drafted high. He didn't make it. This guy was drafted high. Dante Pettis went in the second round. Why didn't he make it? He's not very tough. You got to be super tough to battle these DBs. These DBs are 6'1". They got long arms, big hands, strong as hell. They jam you up. It's hard to get off the line of scrimmage. You got to be tough to play receiver. Oh, he's Julian Edelman. Stop that. Julian Edelman's like the toughest guy that ever lived. That never made any sense. It
never made any sense because what? First of all, wide receivers, you see it again this year. It's like everyone take a snapshot in your brain of this trade deadline. Every year there is like legitimately Pro Bowl, borderline all-pro wide receiver talent that is available at the deadline that you don't even need to give up a first-round pick for.
Right.
It's every year. Every year it's available. So why are you spending first-round picks on wide receivers? And for a team like the Niners, at the time that they did that, they had Debo, healthy Ayuk, Jawan Jennings. So you had 3 guys. And remember how awesome Jennings was that year? So you had 3 receivers. What are you going to do with your first-round pick? Let's draft Pearsall? That doesn't have a significantly different skill set than any of them. Like, I kind of get it if you draft, like, some dude who's an absolute burner that just gives you an element you don't have, or even kind of a guy that might, like, replace Debo. But it's like, Ayuk's Pearsall. Pearsall is a good player. But at best, he's like, he's going to be a B+ receiver in this league. He's not going to get crazy separation. He seems like he's a good blocker. He seems like he's going to be a solid player. But it's like, what? It just didn't make any sense. There was no need for it.
It felt like it was a pick that they were in their heads. They're like, we can't miss, so let's get a guy that we know is going to be solid. Like he's not going to be just like Jefferson. He's going to be a solid role play, like slot guy. I mean, now they're playing him on the outside, but
yeah, but it's like even like McConkey was available. It's like everyone knew McConkey was going to be awesome. Like he went like 5 picks later. Everyone knew Cooper DeJean was available to be had.
Let me say this though.
Larry,
you've been talking about him. I had never really seen him play a whole lot, but when I evaluate players, just watching him for 2 players, I'm excited about Watkins. I mean, that dude knows how to run. I saw him today. I mean, can he catch? I don't know. The ball went right through his hands. He should have had that. But he glides down the field in a way that none of the other wide receivers do. So he's a 4th-round pick. I want to see him get some more opportunities because I think his hands are positioned the right way. He knows how to cut. He knows how to glide. He could be a steal. And I haven't seen him play a lot, but I saw the physical traits of what I think is a good-looking wide receiver today. So it'll be interesting to see him moving forward. Yeah,
I mean, he's strong, he's fast, he's powerful. He did it in the SEC. I mean, he'll do it. I mean, I'm there's no question in my mind he's going to be good. But and today's his first game. Let him get his feet wet. Let him, get comfortable. This guy made some plays down the field this summer that were, nobody else was making those kinds of plays. We got this one from Humdinger. He says Niners should bring in Aldon Smith to work with McKell. They probably both could help. Aldon Smith is, definitely a talent for sure. Bill M says, if your linebackers and safety lead you in tackles, the D-line was weak. Yeah, Danny made that point earlier, and it's kind of true. If you look down in too many of your DBs or your leading tacklers, it was probably a rough game. Joseph Ernberg, do we have the worst wide receiver group in the NFL? Right now they do. It's bad. They just don't. There's not a lot there. The Nerd Nest with Marty 1983 says Niners collapsing like 880 in the earthquake. Well, that's a little dated reference there. That goes back to 1989. But thank you. Anybody in their 20s is like, what's 880? What's the earthquake? What happened? What are we talking about? There's no collapse. There's no earthquake today. That's all you needed to know. Blood Moon says, Kittle saying he can't wait for Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall to return. We got to stop the hand-holding of Mac. Brock Purdy 100% is our only shot. Kendrick Bourne was like Jason Bourne amnesia. Wow, there's a lot going on there. It's a very busy text there. Is there hand holding of Mac? Do you guys think there's people being? I think that seems. I don't know.
He number 1 NFL in yardage.
Max to me looks pretty good so far. Propa says every injury just makes the 23 Super Bowl loss hurt worse. That was the year. Mostly healthy, stacked team, 10-point lead. You have to capitalize in that spot. We'd feel much more at peace with that sixth trophy. Yeah. That was their window. That was their opportunity. You don't get that many shots.
Every once in a while on Twitter, some Niners guy decides to post them in OT at the goal line. What was it? 3rd down. And what's his face? I'm blanking. Who was the guard that gave up Chris Jones, free rusher to Chris Jones, Burford, free rusher to Chris Jones, and you just look and it's like McCaffrey's wide open, going, could have walked into the end zone. JJ's wide open. Brandon Ayuk is literally standing in the end zone, wide open, nobody covering him. If he has one more second, half a second, maybe 0.3, it's a guaranteed touchdown. Free rusher to Chris Jones.
It's funny.
Terrible.
Everybody's got a different thought process. Maybe it's just because I was in the house for this one, but when I think of, man, they should have 6. I actually really think of Harbaugh and 1st and goal from the 7, and he never handed the ball to Frank Gore, and he didn't run Kaepernick, and it's like, and Kaepernick, and then when I watched it, I couldn't watch that game forever, right? But it was on last time the Niners played the Ravens, and on the NFL Network, and I watched it in its entirety. And the play in that game, that looking back at it, it's just like, what the freak is going on? It was the 2nd down pass play where Kaepernick drops back to pass, rolls to his right, and it's 2nd and goal, right? And he could have, as athletic as he was and as much momentum, if he had just said, I'm running this thing, I don't think he would have got in, but I think he would have probably got to like the 2 or the 1. He could have run it to the 2 or the 1 on 2nd and goal. Instead, he didn't run. He kind of drifted, and then fired a laser that went off Crabtree's shoulder pads. And that was the Super Bowl right there. I mean, the next 2 plays were horrible, but that one right there, it's like, dude, if you just run, and then you run Frank Gore from the 2 a couple times, I mean, I'll take my chances. I mean, that when I think of the one that got away, I think of that. I think of Harbaugh Bowl, New Orleans. I don't think of these games against the Chiefs as much as I probably should. I understand the overtime was very bitter, but to me, the one that really got away was the Harbaugh Bowl.
Caffrey's fumble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. We got this one from Kevin Murphy. Kevin Murphy became a YouTube member. Welcome aboard, Kev. We've got this one from Christian Ayala. I think it's safe to say to trade our 1st or maybe 2nd to get a star player and just draft mid rounds. Can't draft early for shit. Send help. Yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean, in a lot of ways, didn't Les Snead do that in LA with the Rams, right? He had hit, he had missed. He had hit, he had missed. He had hit, he had missed. So they finally just said, screw it. Let's trade for Stafford. Let's trade for Ramsey. Let's get these stars. And they climbed to the top of the mountaintop and won their Super Bowl. Now they had to tear it all down and kind of rebuild. But now Les Snead has drafted their replacement line for Aaron Donald, and he's got them once again, competing for a Super Bowl. He's done a really nice job personnel-wise. But they kind of sold out. Maybe the Niners, if they're going to get over the top at this point, maybe they're going to have to keep trading for guys. I'll say this, though. I don't know about if you can do that because it's just hard to trade your way to a championship. But the 2 guys that interest me the most are Quinnen Williams and Brian Thomas. And if you could get either one of those guys in a trade, man, I think I would do it. Let's do this. Let's go game balls and final thoughts on this thing. We're an hour and 32 minutes into this. And our game balls, of course, are brought to you by Habbas Law, our good friends at Habbas Law. We should put that up there.
It's up.
Oh, there we go. And we should thank our friends at Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. We're big fans of Habbas Law. They're sponsors of the Krueger Show. The difference between success and failure in life a lot of times comes down to, do you have the right attorney? And today's show is presented by Habbas Law. Thanks to Omar and Tarek Habbas for being outstanding PI attorneys. And when you're injured, insurance companies try to dodge. Habbas Law makes sure that they pay attention and they pay up. They know the playbook because they've been battling and beating insurance companies for decades. So they're rooted right here in Northern California. They're great guys. So if you need someone in your corner, call the firm the insurance companies hope you never call, and that's Habbas Law, Habbas Law.com. They will fight to make it right. Their website, habbaslaw.com on the web. 1-800-INJURED is the number. And we'll go around the room with our game balls. Kev, why don't we start with you, and we'll go around that way. Who gets your game ball tonight or today?
Yeah, I mean, I can't give it to a Niner. It was just such a bad loss. If I was, I'd probably give it to someone like Bethune or Winters. They had a couple nice plays, but I got to give it to Will Anderson. The guy wrecked the game. From the first drive, he just made his presence felt, and I think he made his presence felt on pretty much every single drive. Mac Jones was under pressure, what did I say, half the time. So that was the game right there. And I can't think of a player that I'd rather have, maybe outside of Myles Garrett, that I'd want to add to this defensive line than Will Anderson. That guy is a freak. Just a great player in a great game.
Go ahead, Rye. Who gets your game ball?
Oh, I mean, I'm going early, so I get to have Mac. I love Mac in this game. I've seen some comments that are like, "Oh, you'd be on Purdy if he lost this game." I absolutely wouldn't. This kind of performance, it reminded me kind of like early last year Purdy. Purdy was awesome last year, early in the game, but it's like he had no receivers. I just like there's something about Mac just taking like an absolute beating and just sitting back in that pocket. I just love that he's like launching deep balls, giving receivers a chance to make plays. Now, they didn't come down with a lot of them, but I don't know. The guy fires me up. He just absolutely fires me up. And I'm like pretty happy to have him as the quarterback, like especially this specific iteration of the Niners. Also, I'm sure he won't get picked, but a small shout out to Brian Robinson for being like the first guy who does anything in the return game this year. This team needs plays in the return game. They need to have turnovers on defense. It's really honestly pretty embarrassing that they changed this kickoff rule, and you see just crazy returns all over the league constantly, and nobody really has done anything. Sky Moore had like one, but Brian Robinson, that was a huge return, so shout out to him.
Frank, who gets the game ball for you?
You're muted, Frank.
Rye stole my thunder. I was going to say Brian Robinson because I was on the same page because he made a few plays, but he made the play, and he actually looked like he belonged. And I'm hopefully that'll give him some confidence moving forward. But I'm going to give it to George Kittle. All right, got his first touchdown, and that laser that Mac Jones threw him. When I saw that play, that was a Tom Brady special to Gronk or any of those tight ends. Tight end running right down the seam in traffic with a closing safety or corner, and the guy catches the ball. That was I've seen Tom Brady throw that pass at least 5 to 7 times. A tough play to catch. It's happy for Kittle. I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to be successful in the future.
I gotta give it up for Tatum Bethune. I mean, 14 tackles. A lot of those were down the field. It wasn't a spectacular game, but I said a couple weeks ago, I said, hey, I guaranteed on the KMBR pregame show last week, I'm like, he's going to have 10 tackles. They're like, oh, you guarantee it? I'm like, yeah, I guarantee it. And then we talked about it in the postgame show. I made the point. I'm like, no, I go, 10 tackles is going to be Tatum Bethune's baseline. I go, he's going to have a 15 tackle game because that's how much he shows up at the football. So I got to watch the film, but just off of that number, 14 tackles, somebody had to step up. 14 tackles for Tatum Bethune. So I love that. Demo Lenore would get a game ball as well with the pick, first pick in 15 games. Upton Stout, I think, would get a game ball as well, just how hard he played. When other guys weren't playing that, didn't seem like Bernardo Green wasn't playing that hard. And Upton Stout was like doing everything. So Stout impressed me. Bethune really impressed me. Lenore with the pick has to be shouted out. I definitely want to mention, though, that I second Rye's thought on Mac Jones. I mean, Mac Jones, JJ dropped that one. Otherwise, Mac probably gets close to a 300-yard day almost. So, against this defense, Mac Jones got beat up, and yet he ran when he needed to run. He only got sacked twice. He ran for 23 yards, for crying out loud. And that's big. That's big. So Mac Jones is playing great football. But I'll give it up to Tatum Bethune for 14 tackles for Tatum Bethune. Anyway, that is going to do it for us. I'll give you guys final thoughts on the way out the door here. We got this one, though, from Roland Maine. He said, Mac did well with 10-minute time of possession. Yeah, exactly. Bill M. Harbaugh loss as bad as Seattle not running Marshawn. Actually, that was the decision to pass for Seattle when you had Marshawn was pathetically bad. But guys, final thoughts. It was a rough day for the 49ers on a lot of fronts, but your final thought before we bolt for the door. Kev, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll second what you've been saying for a while now, which is just there's no reason to go all out on a player for just 1 year. If you're going to make a trade, make a trade for a player that's going to help you in the future. This team, they're a young bunch. There's no reason to sell out just for this season. But at the same time, I think there's some value in making a trade and just getting better because you do have a shot this year, and there is a real shot this year with the schedule you have. So I'm all for making this team better, and I think that trade needs to be for a defensive lineman. They sit by their defensive line, they invest in their defensive line. Well, it ain't producing right now, and if that's their fault from the draft picks or the injuries, I don't know. But I would reinforce this defensive line if you want to have a chance, because you can't have C.J. Stroud or any quarterback for that matter just sit in the pocket all day and dice you up in the secondary. You're just never going to win that way. So got to get pressure on the quarterback. There's some defensive linemen out there that can be dealt. Go make a trade for one of them. Trade a fourth round pick, a third round pick. You got Chase Young for nothing. I know he wasn't the best pick, but you got blanking on the Broncos defensive lineman that they also got who ended up being crazy. Blanking his name. What am I?
Khalil Davis?
No. That was 2 years ago. But they've made trades for big name. Randy Gregory. They've made trades for big name defensive linemen and didn't have to pay much for them, especially with the comp pick formula. So make a trade and get a little bit better on this defensive line. You have a real how I would take it.
That's interesting. If you're going for defensive line, and I spent a lot of time looking at a bunch of defensive linemen, the two guys that I think would be really intriguing, Michael Clemens from the Jets is like just a guy for them. I mean, they have other guys. He doesn't start. He plays off the bench, but he's huge. He's like 6'5", 270, and he's got a motor. If I could somehow trade for Quinnen Williams and Michael Clemens, those are the two defensive linemen I'd love to get. I think if you could get those two guys, now you're cooking, even without Bosa. That would be nice. Rye, give me your final thought.
Final thought is, it's like they got the win last week. They're 5-3. I know this is like the lame analysis everyone's going to do. So like they're 5-3. They just have to go 5-4 rest of the way. They're still set up, honestly, in a pretty good spot. They beat everybody in the division. Two of their three losses have been to AFC opponents. They only have one loss in the NFC. So like tiebreaker-wise, division-wise, they're still looking pretty good. They just have to take care of business versus the Giants. This game is like I'll just say it right now. My instinct is to bet on the Giants next week, especially with the Rams game the week after that, which is going to be a huge look ahead. They gotta go take care of business versus the Giants. Shanahan's got to have some sweet schemed up first drive. They just got to get ahead and just keep the defense off the field and take care of business. And then if they're 6-3 heading into that Rams game, I think we all feel pretty good about them.
Frank, you got a final thought before we bolt?
Yeah, I'm gonna just Rye and I are bumping into each other. I totally agree with him. Just like Jay-Z said, on to the next. I think they need to work and prepare themselves and devise a plan to beat the Giants, and they set themselves up pretty well. So less missed tackles, strap it up, and just go beat the Giants. So that's what I think they should do.
Big game next week for sure. That definitely sets up that way. And we got one last super here. DeBig says, after watching how bad the Texans offense looked the last game, this was bad on Salah's part. The DBs playing way off the line of scrimmage against the Texans, number 3 and number 4 wide receivers. Yeah, I thought the coverage was soft. You had soft coverage. You had no rush. It's not a good combo. Not a good combination at all. All right. What is a good combination is Frank and Rye and Kev and Danny and me after these games. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. One of my favorite stream of the week. Gentlemen, we'll see you guys in the Dungeon Show tonight. Frank, going off at what time? 9?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Rye, great to see you, bro. Things are good. Everything good. Anything you want to promote? Promote away.
Nothing to promote. The only thing I'm going to promote is just how about these dubs? It's so crucial that the dubs are kind of nasty because it's like providing some cushion just in case the Niners season doesn't go the way that we're hoping for. But 2 huge wins, being Denver and OT, Steph looking fantastic, and then they had the schedule loss to Portland because they were a bunch of old guys. But I'm loving Al Horford.
Yeah, Horford looks good. I'll say this. I don't understand why. Is it possible that the guy that everybody wanted to trade all season, all off season, is actually the perfect guy for the team that they have? He's, what would you want on this team? You want a young player that can beat guys off the dribble and get into the lane. Why? Because you don't have a lot of guys who can beat people off the dribble and get into the lane. You want a guy who's athletic enough to defend 3s and 4s. Jonathan Kuminga is, definitely that guy. His focus this year is on rebounding the basketball. He's got great length, and he's proving to be a good rebounder. And guess what? When he rebounds, suddenly he's pretty damn useful, isn't he? And it's like this whole, let's get rid of him. Let's get rid of him. Let's not get rid of him. Let's keep him and figure it out. I don't know. I mean, we got too many people who just call it quits on relationships in this country when people ought to stick it out and work it out. And I think the Warriors could be the poster child for let's work it out. Jonathan Kuminga, what do you think?
Love it. I love it. He's playing his role. It's perfect. Also, just one last thing. I was looking forward to one thing in this Cowboys-Broncos game, and I want to see Aubrey attempting a 70-yarder, and we might have it coming up here because it's the end of the half. They're at about their own 45. I'm really hoping to see a 70-yard field goal here in Mile High.
How's your wagers doing this weekend? Doing okay?
Dude, I actually slept it. I meant to put in a huge tight end day, national tight end day parlay. That would probably be looking pretty good. And I actually had to do something this morning. I just didn't get any bets in. But I'm huge on the Commanders plus 11.5 on Monday night. Huge.
Broncos are beating Cowboys 27-10, by the way. Colts are up 17-7 on the
Broncos
Texans.
interception.
Damn it.
No field goal.
Dolphins smoked the Falcons 34-10. How about the Jets 39-38 with Justin Fields, who got benched, and then got put in the game, and then they win.
God, he's such a – I have him in fantasy in every league, and it's like being in an emotionally abusive relationship with a toxic hot chick. It's every week it's either 29 points and just the best sex of my life, or it's 4. And you're getting benched.
I actually picked him up today. Who would you have? I have Mac Jones and Brock Purdy on my fantasy team. And then I picked up Joe Flacco, and I'm like, maybe Flacco. But then I'm like, you know what? Flacco, I just don't trust Flacco, against the Jets defense. And then I saw that Kirk Cousins was available. I picked up Kirk Cousins. And then this morning I saw that Fields was back in there, and I picked up Fields. I went with Fields today, and I'm up 81.2 to my guy I'm going against only has 27 points right now. But Fields has given me 20, gave me 20 points, over 20 points. No, 30 points. No, 20 points.
20 points.
20 points.
How about Joey Flax? I saw a couple guys, one guy was starting him in fantasy, and I was like, that's insane. How are you starting Joey Flax? And the guy had a rushing touchdown today. I think he threw for 3.
You did.
He
had
scrambling for 18 yards.
3 touchdowns. Unbelievable. And Fields, by the way, ran 11 times for 31 yards, but he also threw for 244 and a touch. Good stuff. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. Have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. Thanks for Kev. Give us your final thought, because you probably want to promote something on the channel or something good. Go ahead.
Same stuff for me. Follow the Crew Show on all social medias. Check us out on Facebook, TikTok, and subscribe to the audio form on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
And on that note, we'll say have a great Sunday. Great to see you guys. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared.